So Dante, welcome to the podcast.
Are we live? We're live.
We're live.
All right.
It's going. It's rolling.
Thank you, Mike.
So who are you, man? Introduce yourself to everybody.
Dante, I'm 25 years old. I actually turned 25 in Mexico.
You turned 25. Is that when you went on your trip for the 6 month?
Yeah.
So what's your first? What's your last name? What's everything you do? Where do you just
Dante Molina. Right now I'm just going to start a new job with Acon Fiber where I'll be running electrical wires under the ground. But my main mission is I do a lot with church, right? So I work a lot with the youth. I work a lot with men and just try to be a better inspiration to them.
What church are you currently at,
I'm with Victory Outreach Pueblo. I've been there for 3 years now.
Okay.
I used to go when I was younger. It was so weird because this lady that was taking me when I was young, she would come to my house, do like games, board games with my family, with my brothers. She became my boss at work.
Okay. Is that when you were working at the care facility, right?
It was, I was there. And it was a blessing of an opportunity. She invited me one day. I actually started going because I started liking her daughter.
Oh, okay.
Which
got the feels a little bit.
Yeah, which is a strange turn of events, but that's how it happened.
That's how you got into it. So, my main goal is to interview, Pueblo owners, entrepreneurs, and stuff like that. But me and Dante go way back. When did we meet? Probably 4 years ago.
Oh yeah, it's been
4 years. 4 years ago.
3 years.
We go way back. And the reason I wanted to get Dante on the podcast is because, when I met Dante, he's not the person he is today. He's definitely grown and became a better person. I remember when we first started talking, becoming friends. It goes way back. Pueblo Athletic Club, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that where we?
Yeah.
Is that where you formally were like, hey, bro? Was it a birthday party?
It was
your 21st, 22nd birthday party. You're like,
it
hey.
was at the gym, and then I remember I'd invited you to one of the parties I was throwing.
Yeah, because it was for you, and I remember I showed up. I showed up late. I wasn't all on time, but I still showed up. And I remember you're like, oh, I didn't even think you were gonna show up, bro. And I was like, I wouldn't miss it for the world, know. So that's how we met, and then we obviously ended up becoming roommates. Yeah. You offered to let me live at one of your houses. So we go way back, and I was just interested. I wanted to get you on the podcast because now you just took a 6 month trip. I want you to go more into that here in a second, but it's inspiring to see the man you've become, right? Because when we first put the microphone a little bit, when we first started hanging out and talking, you were definitely, especially now, then you were, I hate to say it, but
I was a mess. No, I was a mess. I know I was.
I wouldn't say a mess, but you're trying to find your purpose and find what you wanted to do. I remember, man, we were both drinking. Like obviously, it wasn't like an everyday thing or nothing like that, but the Dante I know now, that's no, we're not doing that. And I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do anything anymore like that. So
all right.
So my main question now is, so you said, okay, I started liking the girl, started going to church. How did it reverse? Because I know you're not with that girl, right?
No.
So how did it end up turning to such like a passion? And I know you inspire a lot of youth too, and you do a lot of programs and a lot of hangouts and movie nights and parties and stuff like that. How did it start turning like that? Because I remember when we were living together, and then around the time I was moving out is when you started getting into that. So I'm just curious, like, what was your did your mom, like, what inspired you to start turning down that path?
Okay, I would say for me at a young age, I was just like anyone else, right? My parents forced me to go to church. I was there. The seed was planted at a young age.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember going to high school. I had influence, so they actually, right after graduating high school, they offered me a job to become the wrestling coach.
Okay.
They saw how the young men, they followed me, and that they wanted to become something greater. And I didn't have much to offer. I was fresh out of high school.
Let's not mistake it.
Yeah.
We know you're a wrestler. You're a good wrestler too.
For sure.
So
I appreciate it.
You had something to offer. Especially if you're coaching. But
for sure. But that, I noticed at a young age I had influence, right? I moved out at the age of 17, but it was a mess, bro. I had my own house. I started throwing parties, drinking. I had gotten my friends hooked to their first vape. I'd gotten my friends drunk for the first time. And I remember, bro, God gave me influence, but I was using it for the wrong things, right? So anyways, I went on to be a wrestling coach. I coached for that first year. The second year, I thought they were going to offer me a job. I was like, I'm locked in. I'm ready. Actually, they had said, we want you to come back when you're a little more mature.
Okay.
And that crushed me. I was like.
And you were 18 at the time, you said?
Yeah, I was 18. It was right after high school. And then that second year, I thought I was going to come back. I enjoyed wrestling. I enjoyed working with the young men. Not only did I work with them there, but they were like my friends. Yeah. So I had a relationship with them outside of the wrestling program, right? But I remember being so broken in my car, and I was just crying out, and I was like, God, like, why? Like this was my everything. This was all I knew, right? I had my job at the time, but it was healthcare.
Yeah,
not a lot of people.
Not super happy doing healthcare, right?
No, not a lot of people find their purpose in healthcare. But
That's fair.
Yeah, I remember just being broken, and I remember just a calmness came over me in my car, and God spoke to me. He said, "You're going to teach these young men greater things," right? And I didn't start right away. I was probably going to turn 19 at that time. Okay. I didn't start right away going to church. I was in the world still. I was still partying. I was still drinking, still doing what I wanted to do, still using my influence for the wrong. Yeah. And you kind of saw in my life how it took a drastic turn.
Yeah, being there too. But it's low-key a blessing too, because then we met.
Yeah.
That's how we ended up meeting. And it wasn't pretty at first with what we were doing, right? You remember me, I was smoking, I was, doing the wrong things too. Mm-hmm. So, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to mention that, because I'm like, that's how we ended up meeting, So.
I think that's important too, because like I really attribute a lot of my success, to God finding me in that place, but also he brought me a friend like yourself, right? You started taking me to the gym, you started showing me stocks, you started, just showing me that there was other purposes, right? Yeah. I started investing my money in guns, and I started finding enjoyment in all that.
Yeah.
So I started realizing that there was a bigger purpose than, just drinking or in and out of relationships. And, anyways, I remember that God used that influence in my life, right? I remember I invited you at a couple parties, and they were always like ragers, right?
Crazy parties for sure.
Yeah, bro. And it was all mess, but I know it all worked out for the better, right? Yeah. Now, what I find my actual purpose is in speaking into the lives of men, right? Speaking into the lives of younger adults. We actually started at my house when I came back 3 months ago.
Yeah, from Mexico, right? You went all over the place, actually, weren't you?
Yeah, I was traveling the world, bro. Just
how was that? Because we haven't really got to sit down and talk. Because I know you were busy. We talked right before you left. Mm-hmm. You would come visit me at work, and then you eventually ended up going for 6 months. Yeah. And I just remember seeing the Instagram stories. I was like, oh, yeah, so jealous.
Oh, it was amazing. I had the time of my life. I remember first being introduced to the Urban Training Center. Like I would see it on the videos at church, and I had gone to California a couple times, but besides that was all I knew about the ministry. Besides being involved in the ministry outside of Pueblo, just in California, and they're doing great things out there.
And this is with Victory Outreach. Okay.
Yes, it is. But I remember just seeing the advertisements, and I was so engaged and so hooked, and I'd be like, Pastor, I want to go one day. What does it take, right?
So how did you end up, and I don't mean to interrupt on it, how did you end up meeting, Pastor, and how did you end up starting to go to Victory Outreach and started, having a bigger place? Because over time, now you seem like more of the face of, I wouldn't say you're like the main face. Obviously, you got the pastors and other people that have been there a long time. Mm-hmm. But, you definitely have grown into it. So how did that end up starting where you got that position and, started, getting there?
Oh, man, it was not an easy journey, right? The hardest part I had to learn to do was shut up and follow somebody, right? I didn't know it all. Right. So it really took me humbling myself and being like, if I'm going to take the advice of the leaders that are placed in my life for a reason, then I'm going to really have to submit. And, I was going to church for a year. Yeah. I was serving. I was doing the media. I was doing, we're a different type of ministry. So Pastor believes in raising world leaders, and he believes in training you for everything. Yeah. Right. I was going for a year. I remember after liking that girl, I had fallen with another relationship, right? Okay. I let another girl into my life.
Was it at the church? Did you meet her at the church?
I was kind of taking her to church. So I was like, come.
You're trying to save her.
See what I'm like, see that I stand on business, stuff
you're
like that.
You're about it.
Yeah.
I got you.
So then I realized like I couldn't do it on my own. So the associate pastor, he's the associate pastor now, Pastor Chris,
Okay.
he was moving into the church. There was nobody living there. And I don't know if you know much about church businesses and all that, but they're always trying to break in and steal stuff. It's crazy.
Oh,
here in
really? So
Pueblo.
that's why he was moving in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was there kind of like the watchman, kind of taking care of things. And, you know, I was at my own house.
Yeah, because I remember right before you moved in, that's when I moved out of the house. I was there for, what, year and a half probably?
Yeah.
So I remember you were thinking about it right when I moved out.
Yeah. No,
So-
and it was just that. Like, I realized I couldn't do it on my own. You know, I couldn't stay out of trouble on my own. I couldn't stop the bad habits I had on my own.
Yeah.
So it was like I really needed somebody to pour into my life and speak and guide me better,
Yeah.
right? So I really just took that step, right? 6 months in the church. I went 6 months to my pastor's house, and my pastor, he's known for, you know, his model's raising world leaders.
Yeah.
He sent out pastors. He sent out, you know, worship leaders all over the outreach, right? We actually have a sister of mine, the one I started liking going to church.
Yeah.
She's out there in Hollywood.
Right
And you
now,
see her,
or
yeah,
okay.
you see her. She's like the face of the worship. She's doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and I know that a part of her success is following the leadership that God placed inside of her life, right? So that's what I did. 6 months with my pastor in the church. 6 months with my
Anyone
pastor.
try breaking in when you were? When
Oh
you were living
yeah,
there?
no. Somebody actually stole a punching bag.
A punching bag.
I was there. The room was like there in the basement, and then we had like a little gym outside.
Yeah.
Somebody came down, and I don't know. I guess
Did you wake up or
somebody
no?
was tweaking it. No, no, I didn't wake up.
Sleeping good, man.
No, I got clowned on it so much. People were
Yeah.
like, "How do you let someone drag a 400-pound punching bag out of the
Had to be
backyard?"
Did you guys have a camera or no? Was it
Yeah.
like one person?
They
who did
watched it. They showed me the video the next morning. They were like, "Look, Dante, while you were sleeping, somebody just..."
Went and stole the punching bag.
Yeah,
Wow,
no, it
dude.
was crazy.
You were having some good sleep, protected by the good
Oh,
Lord.
yeah.
Man. That means
Oh,
you were
yeah.
protected, though, because you would have
I
woke up
was.
for sure. You know.
Yeah, it was definitely a better place to be.
Yeah.
right? I had lived with my brothers at the time, and I didn't have that influence of drinking or vaping. Anytime a situation got hard, it was I deal with this emotion, I take it to my leader, and I don't go rely on what I was relying on.
Let me go hit this
before.
vape, or let me
Yeah,
go drink a little bit, or let me go smoke. Well, no,
It wasn't
you never
that
smoked.
easy.
You never
No.
smoked. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that easy for me. I had to be like, "Hey, I'm struggling with this," right? And then pastor would take me through the Bible where it shows this, where it shows this, and I had a hard time, you know, reading. I had a hard time learning, but I realized as I kept going and as I kept pushing myself to do better, right? God just met me there, and you know, he took me to another level.
And it shows too, you know, like that, like how I was saying, you know, I wanted you on here because the Dante I met 4 years ago compared to the Dante I know now, big difference, right?
Yeah,
Big
no,
difference.
for
But
sure.
so going back to, you know, your trip, you're there for not the trip being there for 6 months, but you were at the church for 6 months. And then how did it, because you know me, so back when I used to live with you, you know, I wasn't religious at all. I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in anything. We probably had debates about it before, you know.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
remember.
yeah, we did.
I remember telling you something like, I can't remember exactly what it was, but you're like, "Don't ever tell me that again." And I was like, "All right, man, I won't." But, you know, now definitely believe, right? I think I came out to Jesus probably about a year ago.
Oh, wow.
And then
Awesome.
before you left for your thing, I even went to one of your church services, and Dante saying hi to everybody. "Hey, how are you? How are you? You doing good? You doing good?" He's up there singing. He's up there preaching. So, you know, definitely believe now. So, and my life has gotten 100 times better.
Oh yeah, no, I bet. You know, that something I always took personally. You know,
Yeah.
is the call God had on my life. I remember being all in for the world. I remember being all in for the partying, all in for the bullying. Right, I was a big bully in school, and I remember being all into those things. So I was like, you know, when I finally had encountered Jesus, I was like, why not be all in for this? Right? Why not be all in? And that's awesome to see that, you know, God's been meeting you there because, you know.
I think you probably had, I wouldn't say like 100%, but you probably had a lot to do with it too, you know, because I was able to look at, you know, you and be like, oh, you know.
Yeah. No,
see
I wouldn't
how
say
good it was for
100% either.
Yeah, but definitely had somewhat to do with it, you know. Because
Yeah.
then I hit you up, "Hey, man, when you having church, when you doing this?" And you're like, "Yeah, just come in." I think it was a Wednesday I went. But you're like, "Come in," and it was a great time, you know. It was good. But so going back to your trip to going to, you know, traveling in Mexico and stuff like that. So you're living at the church for 6 months, and then how did it start getting to, like, your pastor was like, "Hey, Dante, do you want to go travel?" Because Dante's fluent. He speaks fluent Spanish. You want to say a sentence real quick?
Sí, así es. Hablo puro español.
I wish I knew Spanish, bro. I wish.
Yeah.
But so how did that all end up starting where you got the opportunity to be able to do that?
So that was kind of the goal moving into my pastor's house. He's like, if I'm going to work with you, I need you to be serious about this, right?
Yeah.
And right away, the goal wasn't to go travel the world, go to UTC, but it was just to become a greater leader, right? Locally, on the lower level where I was already, but just had my leadership experience elevated, right? And my pastor was down to work at me in that. Now, it wasn't a big decision for me to go to Mexico right away because I wasn't down to travel all the time. I was like,
at that time you weren't, or
no,
what?
I knew what it costed, right?
Yeah.
I knew it came with the cost. I had to pay tuition of $6,000 for the year, or for the 6 months. I had to let go of my job, and at the time I was working a really nice administration job with the state, right? I had my own house, and I knew what it costed going into this. So for me, it wasn't really a decision going in.
Yeah.
But as I started stepping up into leadership, as I started seeing the lives of not only myself, but the young men I was influencing, the people around me I was influencing, right? As I started seeing that, I started feeling the call of God heavier to go and experience him, right, in new ways in Mexico out there. And then that transition was a little different, right? I had talked to my pastor, and I was like, hey, I really feel a call to go to Mexico.
Yeah.
Right? And right away he was like, what are you going to leave behind?
What was your thought process when he told you that?
My pastor's big on, don't go unless you have left somebody here in your place, right? Unless you have somebody here to fill in the gap, right? And at the time I was working head on with the youth. I was preaching. I was doing all these things at my church. So it was like, it was big for me to go. And I didn't have anyone in place, right? But I knew God had called me to go. I already knew that there was a mission on my life to go, right? So I think just taking that head on and just believing like, hey, God's going to raise somebody up when I'm gone, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that was a cheap way out, but
but you got to travel, man. You got to do what you got to do, and it's not like you were, going there to party or be a bad influence or nothing like that. You were there doing what you were supposed to be doing, right? So how did it start? All right, the day you're leaving, right? Day you're leaving, packing your stuff. Who you going with? How was the flight? Like how was that process of doing everything?
It was so weird because like the whole last month before going, I felt it. I felt like a heaviness. I felt like hey, this is getting real.
Yeah.
Who do I have in place? What am I going to do out there, right? It was all new to me. I thought I was going to go out there. It was going to be like a school. I'm just going to speak only Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Which my Spanish improved a lot out there, but it wasn't that. It was, I had learned a new way to encounter God out there. But the process going into it was like, I had to make sure my finances were right. I had to make sure everything was right.
All the bills
my
are
family,
paid.
yeah.
Cars
all the bills, the cars, all of it, bro. I had to make sure all of it was right. And it was hard because my family at the time, they didn't agree with it. They were
really?
Yeah, they were
so
like.
Even like your mom too, and everybody was like, they were just like, no, go.
Yeah, they were like, why, Dante? You have influence here. What are you doing out there? You're already working with young men. You're already doing things here at your church. Why would you go to Mexico?
Yeah.
Why?
What was the why?
The why was I knew God had something greater. I knew I was doing already great things in here, but in the city of Pueblo. But I knew if I went and I gave this short time up, if I went and I gave my job up, if I went and I gave up my friends, whatever was holding me back, I knew that if I gave that up, God would honor that. And, that's just what happened.
It's a big jump,
Yeah.
losing the job, especially,
not
having that sense of security being there when you get back.
Oh, yeah.
So you get on the plane. What was the first stop when you went?
So I actually had connected to Utah.
Okay.
And then from Utah, I hung out for a little bit in the lobby. So going to the airport or going to like 2 weeks before, I didn't have a flight. But there was a doctor that hit me up, and he was like, hey, I've seen your preaching videos. I see what you're doing with the young men. I see what you're doing with the youth, and I want to invest in you. This doctor had invested and paid $1,000 ticket.
Really?
First class. I got a round-way trip to.
How was it on first class?
Oh, it was. I didn't
like
feel like I
king or
deserved it.
what? Like a
Yeah.
king?
No, I felt just like a king. I didn't feel like I deserved it. But this doctor was like, I want to invest in you. You're giving your yes, you're giving a sacrifice. You're sacrificing a lot of things to do this.
Yeah.
So this doctor paid a round trip ticket. So honestly, the airport was easy.
Yeah.
Going in and out of the terminals, all that was easy.
That first class.
Yeah.
Plus it was first class probably. You know? You're like VIP going there.
It was good.
So doctor pays round trip, gets you there. What was the first stop other than Utah, and then round trip to where? Just Mexico? Where at in Mexico?
Straight to Guadalajara, the big city.
Okay.
So I was there in like the capital of Mexico, in Jalisco, and I remember just getting there. It was like I felt a freshness.
Yeah.
I already felt a freshness. I already felt ready. I felt prepared, and I know I wasn't going with the goal in mind to expand my leadership. Right. The Urban Training Center, their motto is raising leaders for the future.
Okay.
Right. So we see the first week I was there was people catching flights in from Utah, from all over the world, right?
Yeah.
I had a class of about 25 young people.
And you were the leader of the class too?
No, not right away.
Not right away. Okay.
No, but there was this freshness, right? Of people that had a desire to learn, of people that had a desire to grow.
Yeah.
And you see that, that was probably one of my first stops is going there. I went to a little taco truck and I was like,
how was the food there? Yeah, how was the food?
It was
amazing.
amazing.
Bet it was a lot cheaper too. There
it was fantastic.
Okay.
Everything there was so fresh and so clean, and it was good.
Okay.
It wasn't like they show Mexico on the movies. That's for sure.
So it was a lot nicer. A lot more what you not what you expected either. I bet.
No.
So
it was different.
Yeah. So you get there, go to Mexico. How is it setting up? Okay. What are we doing when we're there? Right. Like say if I showed up with you, we're there. We get some tacos at a taco truck. What are we doing? What's our goal there?
It was so weird because right when I landed at the house, one of the staff over the house, he was kind of there like in charge of the students. He took me straight to the laundromat and he was like, "We need to dry your clothes." I was like, "Why? What's going on? Like, why do we gotta?" No, I was like, "My clothes are dry. I got them all nice and folded in my suitcase. Probably had 3 suitcases on me. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
But he was like, "We need to dry your clothes." When you travel, there's bugs that get inside your bag. So I was like, all right. So we walked. It was such a humbling way to live out there in Mexico. We walked to the laundromat probably 10 minutes away from the house. There we passed a bunch of shops on the side of the road where we would actually go later on to get donations. Twice a week we'd go to these places where the Mexican people where they were selling fruits on the road, but they would bless us. They would give us donations.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got to the laundromat. We walked around the plaza for a little bit and I felt different.
Yeah.
I'm a big white dude. In
How tall
Mexico.
are you, Dante?
I'm 6'4", about 240 right now. So I knew I stuck out.
Yeah, but everybody giving you eyes or what?
Oh yeah, they were all like, "Oh, what is this? What is this?"
Oh, gringo.
Yeah,
You speak fluent, so
yeah.
I bet you threw some people off though, because did anyone try talking? Well, it's obviously not English there for the most part. So when they try talking to you, they expect you to be like, "Oh." Fluent. I'm right back at you.
No, for sure. They were definitely thrown off when I opened up and when I started talking. They were like, "Where are you from? Your accent is like different, you know." And they say I have a Colombian accent, but they were like, "Where are you from? Like, what are you doing here?" And that's where I really saw God move. Also, is I got to share with them what I was doing there.
Yeah.
Right. I believe that God's going to do something in my life here. I'm here to be a leader. I'm here to be exposed to the greater vision of Mexico. They had a church out there where I was in Mexico of about 500 every Sunday.
Really?
And it was
that's
like
a big church.
No, it was huge. It was a convention center.
Okay.
So Victory Outreach's first convention center was there in Guadalajara. And I was just blessed to be a part of it. I was blessed to the house I was staying at. It was an old narco house.
Oh, okay.
So they showed us around the house. They had tunnels underground that led to different parts of the city of Mexico.
They weren't still using them or what?
No, they were all covered up and sealed.
You're not sleeping? Someone's asleep, they sneaking some drugs in or what?
No, they could have, but no. It was an awesome experience, The chapel, even where we did church services every week, downstairs was an old lion's den where they throw people down into
lions,
get mauled up.
So I bet just looking at all that and experiencing all that, you're probably such a shock, you know.
Yeah.
So when you were there for a couple weeks, how was it with family back here? Because I would try to text you, and it was hard to get a hold of you. I get you were busy, though, right? And with different times and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So how was it? Like, was your mom calling you, sending you letters, or what? Like, how was it with the family being back here and then you being over there?
Yeah, no, it was different. I remember one of the goals being there was separation, right? You're there to focus on you and your relationship with God. You are there to grow as a leader, right? So you don't want any outside distractions. I remember it's actually a crazy testimony. This was the first I started talking to him with my dad for over 15 years.
Okay.
The first I started talking to him, I was going out to a new country, and I was like, in case I die, you know.
You didn't want to have like a regret or nothing like that.
In case I die, it'd be nice to know who my dad is. And
Yeah.
it also helped because he blessed me financially, you know. And
Did you
he
end
sent
up
me
meeting
money.
him?
Yeah.
So you met him. Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember then it wasn't the best relationship, right?
No.
And you only started getting along with him when you found God. So how was it meeting him and experiencing all that, you know?
It was crazy. He actually flew in from Texas
To Mexico?
to Mexico. Like the first month I was there,
Yeah.
he was like, you know, the communication was different. So I was allowed to talk to people twice a week, 10-minute phone calls. I could have called 2 people a week.
Yeah.
Right. So however I wanted to split that up, that was the split. So I'd
Yeah.
usually call my mom and my pastor.
Okay.
The other day I'd call my dad and my pastor, right?
Yeah.
Just to
switch it
keep
up,
that
switch it up.
communication, right?
Okay.
So it was crazy. My dad, he was like, I want to go see you. I want to go see what you're doing. Your mom's been sending me your videos, like your preaching videos, what you do with the youth. And, you know, I'm just so grateful. And it was like, it was cool because I saw that, you know, the first time that God restored a relationship in my life.
Especially a big one, too,
Yeah.
you know?
No, for sure. So he flew in from Texas. He spent the week there.
In the
And
church, too?
No, he rented a little apartment,
Okay,
little
okay.
hotel,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we lived it up. We went
Yeah.
out to eat. I chilled with him and had a good
I
experience.
bet that was a shock, though.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
You're probably like, oh, man, it's really real now.
Oh.
So he's living in Texas then? Is that where he's living? Okay.
Yeah, that's where he's at now. So this was the first week he went. He went there. I went July. He went the first week of August.
Okay.
He was there. He spent that whole week, and he was just grateful. He went to church. He hadn't been going to church for years, but he went to church, and you could just see that he was broken, and
Yeah.
you know that walls were starting to come down. And I still keep in touch with him to this day.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, hey, I'm going, send me money.
Hey, I just need you for 6 months, and then that's it. Then I'm done.
Yeah. It wasn't just like that, but that was the first week he went. He went another week, 2 months after that.
Okay.
Another whole week. And after that, I was kind of like, hey, you know, I'm here to separate, you know, just to remind you.
Oh, it's good. You
Right.
know, it's great having a relationship with you,
Yeah.
but I need to focus too, you know?
Yeah. But that was big. The communication there was a little strong, you know, like we really got close. We really got to know each other. And I felt like years were just mended.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember he would always, you know, worry about what I was doing in the world and stuff like that. You always worry about your son growing up. How is he going to come out? How is he going to become? But I remember one day he just told me, you know, I'm proud of the man you're becoming.
Yeah.
And that meant so much to me. I was like, you know, I could have stopped right there.
Yeah, that
Could've
was all
just
you
died
needed.
right
You're,
there,
like,
yeah.
you're like, I'm good now.
Yeah. Could have just went up to heaven right there. I was
Yeah.
like, you know, it was a big relieving factor for me. Right, getting to know my dad, seeing the way God's moving in Mexico. My family, they all of a sudden they started to be less worried. You know, it was
over
like
time or what?
Yeah.
Or do you think they went there and they're like, all right, you'll be all right.
I'm sure they
6'4", 240 pounds.
Yeah, I'm sure they were kind of like, state champ, the wrestling thing. Yeah. But I'm sure they were kind of like, you know, we don't want to worry him, so we'll be worried in our own way, but we won't show it. We won't show it. So, you know, they kind of didn't show it, and it meant a lot to me because I was like, all right, God's working in my family there. I was getting family calls from my aunties, my brothers, and they'd be like, hey, we're going to church, we're doing this, and I was like, they weren't doing that before I left.
Yeah.
So that meant a lot to me.
Yeah, that was good. That's good.
You know,
you inspired them to start going.
Yeah.
You know.
For sure.
So that's good, man. And so was it the full 6 months in Mexico? Was it the whole time in Mexico? Or you ended up traveling more, right?
So the original plan, I really liked Brazil. They had a nice base. They had a nice setup over there. I liked their leadership.
So how long was it in Mexico for then?
I was there the full 6, but
okay, 6 months. Okay.
In those 6 months, I traveled all over Mexico,
Okay.
Monterrey, Cancun, and I just saw different parts of the world, you know. And everywhere I went, there was a Victory Outreach Church.
Okay.
Everywhere I went, we were blessed to stay with a family, a friend. You know, everywhere I went, you would see the move of God just so heavy and so fresh, and just the way the culture was, they were so appreciative of things.
Yeah.
You know, it was a lot.
Compared to here where
Yeah.
everybody's just,
Mhm.
you know, it's never enough, right?
Yeah,
You always need something more here, but you go somewhere like there and, you
Yeah.
know, they're more grateful.
Yeah, it was a lot different than what we have here, and it taught me to really value things,
Hmm.
right? But besides that, traveling all over Mexico, right? Besides that, and I remember God would always open up opportunities for me to minister to people,
Yeah.
right? My director's wife, she actually told me, Dante, you're a natural evangelist, right?
What does that mean? You gotta,
so
I'm a little, you know me, I'm
yeah,
not.
yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah.
So an evangelist is somebody that goes out and they preach the word of God, right?
Okay.
They'll be effective what they do.
How did that make you feel? She said you're natural at it. You know?
It made me feel good. It made me feel good. I was like, I remember I would go and I would talk to Uber drivers. I would talk to waiters and waitresses and
About it.
whatever was going on. I'd be like, you know, God has a plan for your life. And I would just start ministering to them. Right.
Were most of them open to listening, or was
Oh,
it
yeah.
like?
Oh, yeah.
So you do that here, and you got, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not going to call anyone like out or nothing like that,
Mhm.
but you got people here that you say it to them and they get offended. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
They're like, oh, you
Yeah.
know. So I bet in Mexico, you start preaching, it's a lot different there,
Yeah.
you know.
It was different. I don't know if it was, you know, just the way, you know, I was coming from a different country. I don't know if it was just that spoke
Well,
a
they
lot
probably
to them.
looked at you and went, "This guy's Russian." And
Yeah.
then you
Yeah,
start
yeah.
speaking fluent Spanish, you know. And,
Yeah.
you know, we had the jokes back in the day, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but,
No, that's good.
but so you were traveling different parts of Mexico. When did you go to Brazil? When did you find
So-
time to just go to Brazil?
Yeah,
you know?
it was a blessing, bro. It was like just opportunity after opportunity. And not only was God using my life, I was encountering him in different ways. But I got to experience the world. So there was 2 weeks I actually spent in Brazil.
Okay.
My director's wife was like, "Hey, they have a urban training center out there.
In
the
Brazil.
same thing I was doing in Mexico,
Okay.
but for students, right?" And I knew that. And I didn't think the opportunity would come up. I was like, all right, I chose Mexico over Brazil. I'm never going to Brazil, you know, stuff like that. But I remember answering the call, right? And I remember just being like, I'm down to go, you know. What does a plane ticket cost? $800?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Mom. hey, Dad, you know,
I need
can
some
you help
money
me
to go to
out?
Brazil.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
No, but I'm just grateful I did. We went out there. We experienced the base. They also had a great big church out there. They also had a lot going on. They had the students' house where they were living.
Yeah.
We went there and we painted.
Like redid it and did everything for it.
We
for
were
the place.
there, kind of just remodeling it, redoing it, making it a place that's alive, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I remember we got to serve there, and we saw the kids that were living there, or the young people that were living there. They're like my age,
Yeah.
our age. They're like our
Yeah,
age,
yeah.
so they're not really kids. But I remember their vision came back to life, right? When they saw that we were there to help, when they saw that we were there to serve. And it was the same thing. They had people coming from the U.S. They had people coming from every
All over
part
the
of the
place.
world. Yeah.
Okay.
So you saw them get re-envisioned, that we were there to help, and you also saw like people came and it was like a tourist attraction, right? We had painted some nice things on the walls, and you know it was a big thing, you know, for that country. But out there in beautiful, it was also a different culture, a different way to live.
Different than Mexico too?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
Its own
Oh,
way
yeah.
over there.
Oh, for sure.
So what was better, Mexico's food or Brazil's food? You know?
I think Mexico's food for sure.
Okay.
Brazil was known for like cheese.
Cheese.
So everything you ate had
It's
cheese.
had cheese in it?
Cheese and crackers.
Protein, man. Protein.
Yeah,
and fat.
no,
That's
there's
good,
straight
man.
protein. Yeah.
Were you, so I know you're not, because when we were living together, we were fucking, or I don't mean to cuss, but we were gym bros. We were going every day, 6 days a
Going
week,
hard.
eating, waking up. Obviously, we had different schedules. I'd be up at 5 a.m. Still, you'd be waking up for the day, right? So was there any time when you were in Mexico or Brazil where you're like, I'm going to go hit the gym? Or was it kind of like, I'm going to focus on what I'm doing here, no gym?
It was hard because like we'd have an agenda set for the day.
Yeah.
So we'd have like wake up 6 a.m. and then we'd have take turns in the kitchen, and you know, we'd do PT as a group, but it was never like in my own personal time. If I wanted to work out, I would have to find time in the room,
To be able
you know, dorm life. But
Okay.
like, yeah, it was the goal in UTC was like, they give you a platform, they give you a ministry, and you're supposed to take it to the next level.
Okay.
I remember they put me over worship and they put me over bless me's, and it was hard because you know me, I was a people pleaser. I like to make people happy.
Always
right?
saying yes
Yeah,
all the time. Yeah.
And what a bless me was when somebody left something unattended, or you found someone's Bible or shoe laying around.
You're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna find you. You know,
You'd have to pick it up and be like, "Hey, bro, this is a bless me. You can't leave this stuff around, right?" And that'd be hard. That would be hard.
So you were definitely busy doing that for the most part.
Oh yeah.
And was it the last 2 weeks were in Brazil, or was it 2 weeks Brazil back to Mexico?
I was probably the last month. I spent 2 weeks in Brazil, and it went just by so fast. The last month there went by so fast compared to being here.
Yeah.
I think here, because I was anticipating going out there, I was anticipating meeting new people. But the last month it like flew by, and it was probably the best month of my life.
Really?
I got close to my directors. They had actually offered me to be staff out there in Mexico, so they wanted me to stay out there a year, 2 years.
But you gotta live here.
Yeah. No, it was like they wanted me to be out there, be a part of what they were doing.
Yeah.
But I remember my promise I made with Pastor was, you know, I'm made to come back. I'm made to help with the youth, whether that be for a season, whether that be for a long time, right? But I'm made to be here.
Yeah.
And I see just answering that call back. You know, we've preached in high school. We were just at East 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And I take me and a team of high schoolers, and they're able to speak and testify to their generation. And they're able to be like, hey, I went through this, you know, I experienced this, I experienced that. So what our goal is with these like groups is providing a light, right? Providing a better place.
Somewhere to go too.
Yeah.
You know?
You know,
So you do it every week? Is there something going on? Like you invited me to a movie night. What?
Oh yeah.
Was it last week?
Oh yeah. I know we got something, bro. I live at the church.
Yeah,
you
you're
know?
always there.
Yeah, I'm there, but you know, I'm grateful because we see that first group, it expanded and took off. I left a young man in charge. But he's going to be running that thing we outgrew my house.
I know. Well, I would see like the Instagram stories, right? It'd be
Mhm.
like 25 of you in a room, you know, or
Yeah.
15, you know, however
Yeah.
much. Maybe it looked more in the picture, but
Yeah.
you know, it definitely didn't look like a negative environment either.
No.
It looked like somewhere they could go and they could be themselves and, you know, be able to have a good time doing so, right? You know, so I kind of was like, man, I should have went for movies and pizza. That sounded cool, you know, but obviously life, you know, I got a house, I got a dog, I got a job, stuff like that. So sometimes it doesn't work out, but, you know, it's definitely a good thing what you're doing and you're inspiring other people to be, you know?
Yeah,
so
I appreciate it, bro. And it's also so meaningful to me because I see this young man that's in charge of the group now. I see how he's raised up, right? Now he's in charge of it. And that's the goal, is get somebody else raised up in the new group I'm starting, right? Get somebody else raised up, and not for them to keep it, but for them to reproduce themselves, reproduce what they've learned throughout the Bible, throughout Scripture, throughout their leadership, right? Reproduce that in somebody else so that they could go start their own group, right? It's leaders reproducing leaders.
So if somebody wanted to check out and like get a hold of you, you know, they were interested to go, you know, check out a night or check out a service, how do they get in touch with you or get in touch to be able to get to the right place, right, to get there? Okay. So what's a good place for them to get a hold of you, you know?
You can find me on Facebook, Dante Molina, or my Instagram, Dante_R, and then you'll find my Instagram.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a good way to reach out, connect. We have actually had a lot of people come up and be like, hey, I love what you're doing with this person's kid, with this person's kid. My kid is interested, right? And I get so joyful. I know the rest of the team, they get so joyful when they hear that. Like, my kid needs a place to go. Yeah. My kid just struggled with this. My kid just went through this. My kid is depressed. They need better friends, right? So that's the goal. And we always get refreshed as we do it, you know. So it's awesome to see that we're also speaking life into these young men, and they're finding their purpose, you know, as men.
That's good, man. That's good. I wanted to ask you too, you know, it's this kind of like a 1-2, you know, 2 questions here. Okay. What is the best advice you've ever received? And that could be from your mom, a pastor, from, you know, anyone. What's like the best piece of advice you've gotten? Okay. Like if you were to say, you know.
Now, I had a feeling that this question would come up, so I started studying it at home.
So watching the last podcast, he was like, this seems like fun. Because I do want to ask all my guests that, you know. I'm just curious what people say and what they think, you know. So what would you say it would be?
I think it's good because you're able to gauge where the person's at depending on their answer, right?
Yeah.
You're able to see where they are in life, able to see their experience in leadership and all that. So I think that's a great question, but I would say the best advice I've ever gotten from a friend or from my pastor, actually, he said, you either accept your life or you lead your life.
Okay.
Right? So I had to realize throughout this journey was, am I accepting the situation, right? Am I accepting that I'm just a drunk alcoholic that got it from my dad, and I'm going to pass it to my son, and he's going to pass it to his son.
Just keep it
Yeah,
going.
just keep it going like a generational thing,
Yeah.
Or am I going to break this? Am I going to start leading my life? And am I going to start going to the gym? And am I going to start knowing what my purpose is in this life, right? And that's probably the best piece of advice I've ever gotten.
Okay.
Are you accepting your life or leading your life?
That is pretty good advice, And then my second question was going to be, because I got a couple questions preloaded.
Okay.
I was telling you when you got here, I was like, hey, I don't got no questions, man. I feel like we could just talk because we've known each other and we're close. So what's your favorite Bible verse? Because you know me. I sent you a picture the other day. I have John 13:7. That's my favorite. So put the a little bit closer to you.
Okay.
John 13:7's, my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite? Because I'm curious. I know a lot more than I do. So I'm just curious what your favorite verse is.
It's definitely been a learning experience, right? As I go on reading scripture, God will give me new revelation. He'll give me different words in different seasons. But something I've made very personal to myself, Romans 10:14. How then can they call on the one who they have not believed in? How can they believe unless somebody is sent to tell them, right? And it's heavy.
Mic drop.
Yeah, I know it's heavy, but I remember even putting that as my screensaver when I started my last new job, because a lot of people, they just don't know, right?
Yeah.
That's what that scripture in essence is saying. How can they know unless they're told, right? A lot of people, they don't know the corruption of their ways. A lot of people, they don't know that there's a way out. A lot of people, they don't know that, doing this on the weekend, it might be a blinder, a hindrance to your walk, right?
Yeah.
So how can they know unless they're told? That's something God gave me, and I just took that to heart.
That's a good one, man.
I ran with it.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
That was really good. That's a good one. And then another question I wanted to ask, too, is who's your biggest inspiration? And this could be, family, pastor, whatever. Who was your biggest inspiration throughout your life, though? Not just the last 2 years. I'm talking about the whole 25. So, I asked Sean, this question. He said his college tennis or his high school tennis coach was his biggest inspiration to shape his whole life, right?
Wow.
So, because I thought he was going to say his dad or his mom or, his auntie or something, but he ended up saying his high school tennis coach, which, it made a lot of sense. If you guys checked out the podcast on that one, he was just talking about how he shaped him to be more disciplined, be accountable, and show up, So I'm just curious, what would yours be?
Man, I think the biggest influence in my life would probably have to be my pastor.
Pastor?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen, pastor always says you can't argue with success, right?
That's fair.
And I've seen the favor of God over his life. I've seen how he's raised up men and women. And I was like, I just want to be part of that, right? Whether you're going to raise me up to be a business owner, whether you're going to raise me up to be the next pastor, whether you're going to raise me up to learn how to lead my life, I just want to be part of that, right? So I've seen he actually had a property here where I used to go to church with Victory Outreach on the east side. And you see now it's the men's home. They do recovery, and they they take men off the streets. And it's also like what I'm doing, but the men are there as like a 16-month.
Yeah, because they got to get clean from certain things or stuff like that.
Yeah, or they just make the choice like, hey, I can't do it on my own.
Yeah.
Right? So I've seen him, our God, move in that situation, and now we're blessed with a big building. You've seen it, right?
Yeah.
You went there last year, and I remember just being reminded of the promise that pastor had, right? My vision is raising world leaders, and I've seen the success through that. So, you can't argue with success. I would say that is my number one inspiration, my number one role model. He's in his 60s now, and he hasn't given up.
Yeah.
He's in his 60s now, and his fire hasn't gone out.
You're like a shining image of him, man. I think you're the successor, bro.
On,
if you're asking me,
come
be the
on.
face of it.
All right.
So, and you said, because I don't have you got your phone on you? What's the time? I don't want to keep you here too long.
4:30.
4:30. So we got like 20, 30
Yeah,
minutes.
we're good.
So you said you're going to business class 5:30. So are you going back to school?
I found a new career route. Like I said, I was installing electrical T-fiber. There, it's like a new company from Canada. So they're looking for leaders.
Canada.
Yeah, they're looking for leaders. They're looking for people to kind of take on the role, right, of like general labor and kind of oversee all that. So my goal is to get a foot in the door and then eventually be raised up as a leader there. I don't want to hold on to anything long term because I know my mission eventually is to go out into the world.
Like long-term mission.
But I've done these things where I've set up goals, right? My goal, one of the last goals I wrote down was like the one I told you, men reproducing themselves in, like a house group setting, I read a statistic where 75% of 30-year-olds men, 75% of them are lonely at their age 30 and up.
75% 30 and up. Damn, that's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy.
So I feel like I've taken that really personally. I know when I was in Mexico, a pastor spoke over my life. He was like, I see you starting a mega church of young adults, right? And I realized that it doesn't just take me laying around, waking up when I want to. Yeah. But it takes me being reminded of that promise and putting it to work, not stopping where I'm at, not being satisfied with just 2 groups, not being satisfied with 3, 4 groups, right? But continuing to take God at his word from glory to glory and continuing to not be lazy, right? But work while the sun's still up. Yeah. Work while I'm still young. Work, like the ones who did it before me.
Life. Sean was on here and he's, I think he said he was 35, but he's like, I have so much energy. He's like, I slept in today. I woke up at 6 a.m. I was like, that's sleeping in? He's like, yeah, that's sleeping in. And he's like, so he's one of those people who, is older and he's moving.
Oh, yeah.
It never stops. You run a gym. Shout out to Sean for letting me use his office.
Sean, thank you.
But, he's always moving and he's always, he's about business, about business all the time.
Awesome.
So that's a scary statistic because it needs to get better because it can't get worse, right?
Oh, yeah.
So do you see yourself running a church eventually? Would it be with Victory Outreach or would it be the Dante Church or something like that?
Well, I go to...
I definitely can see it. I can see it for sure.
Yeah. I actually go to Victory Outreach Bible College, and it's like a 2-year associate's degree.
Okay.
Which is a blessing, bro. I'm taking 2 classes right now, History 2 and 3. But my goal is to grab my associates, right? And I started off the school wanting to learn theology, right? I'm here in this church. What do they learn? Yeah. What do they know? I want to learn everything that they believe in. I want to learn everything that they stand for, right? So I'm not just falling for whatever, right? So that's the goal. That was the goal. And I realized that as I was going, as I was leading, my life, also the life of many young men around me, people would be like, hey, Pastor Dante, I see you as a pastor, and
that's what I was telling people when I was like, oh, they're like, who's your next episode? I'm like, it's my friend Dante. He's, I tell people you're a pastor. So even if you're not defined as like officially a pastor, I think a lot of people see you as a pastor already, right? You might not have that description or that title yet, but like when I went to church that one time at Victory Outreach, you're definitely, and maybe that's because everybody else is a little bit older, a little bit more tired, but you're, hi, how are you doing? Hey, what's up? Hey, you want to join up here? We're singing, So I definitely see you as a pastor, right?
Sure.
I know you're not officially title-wise pastor, but I'd say you are.
Not officially. I would say the actual test or the actual title of pastor comes in that process, right? In the process of me getting from now to being licensed. Yeah. Because, bro, this journey of following Christ, he gives us peace, he gives us joy, but it's not easy. We have to deal with people. We have to deal with those who have been hurt, who, how hurt people hurt people. Yeah. So that's all they're used to, right? So you're used to dealing with people that, have different backgrounds. And, I think that's where the real test of pastor comes in. But that's where definitely, like, my calling got confirmed to be a pastor was through other people seeing me as an influence. But, I don't credit any of it to myself, but, God gave me this influence, right? He gave me this platform. He gave me this heart for others, heart to grow men, heart to see not only what I have learned, but but pour that out to everyone else.
Yeah.
You know. So I appreciate that you see me like that. I know.
I do, man. That's what I was telling everybody. Now I'm gonna have to like re-edit my description that I was writing up for you. You know.
Wannabe.
Yeah, want to be soon to be.
good.
No, soon to be.
That's
you know,
good.
soon
That's
to be pastor is probably better. You know, because like, I know a bunch of those younger kids that you're leading see you as Pastor Dante. You know, so. And how long does it take to get that? A couple years, 2 years, or is it like
it's about like a 2-year degree.
2 years.
It just depends.
So is that going to be, obviously you said that's not going to be the next step, but down the road, that's going to be what you want to do?
Oh yeah, no, I definitely want to answer the call on my life of being a pastor. You
That
know,
would be cool, man.
I know I have a heart for the youth. I know I have a heart to see them grow. So I believe that I could do that in a better way.
Yeah.
If I had that office, right? Pastor, what they do is they have a heart for the sheep. Right? It's like a shepherd of the sheep, right? So I believe that my heart's already started to grow in that, right? I believe that I don't have to wait around for it. I don't have to, like I was telling you, I don't have to wait around till, it comes to me. I'm going to go and I'm going to make it work.
Gotta love the process, the journey to get in there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I know you were talking about like how you first originally got in the gym, or not the gym, not the gym, into the church was because you had you liked a girl there. What's it looking like now? Is there just focusing on yourself? Is there a lady out? Obviously you don't got to say the name or say who it is. I'm not asking that, but is there someone out there that you've been talking to?
There's definitely a lady I'm interested in.
Okay.
She knows who it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I realized that, with my past and everything, I had to first learn how to love myself.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Before I could learn how to love somebody else.
And
right?
No, you don't want to rush into anything. I was just curious if we're going to see any like little Dantes around here anytime soon.
I mean, my brother just had a young boy.
Yes.
So this was a week.
No.
This was a week before I left. So I got to know him for a short time. Now I've been spending every day I can.
I was going to ask you about how when you got back, to Pueblo, who was all there, obviously, the family.
Oh, yeah.
And I know your family really well. For a time, I would like to say I was part of the family.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was I was there at the events. I was there at the Super Bowl party. I was there at the house. So
you made it on the Christmas photos.
Yeah, bro.
No, you were there. You were there, bro.
But how was it coming back, seeing all of them again after 6 months, Were they happy to see you, or were they just like, oh, what's up, No.
I think right away they were kind of questionable. Right? They were like, is this, real?
Yeah.
What Dante went to go do, is this real? Which I don't blame him, right? Because I had messed things up before.
Yeah.
Right? I had done what I wanted to do, done what I thought was good, and then I went on and ruined it all.
Yeah.
Right? So I think they were a little weary in ways, right? So they were like, you spent all this money, you traveled the world, we saw your stories, which is something that a lot of students don't get to do out there, right? So I was blessed by it. But I think they were a little cautious at first.
Yeah.
And then it was different because when I would go to my brother's house, when I would go to my family's house, they saw me as like a religious dude.
Yeah.
I would come and I would bring it, bro. I didn't have patience,
Oh, hey, did I mention something today?
Yeah.
You got time for it?
Yeah.
It's good, but sometimes people need that, man.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Because I was actually, I ran into my cousin Jake. I was leaving work yesterday as I'm pulling out some homeless guy on my right trying to get my attention, and I wasn't going to give it. If I have food, water, for sure, I'll give it. I'm not going to give him money, though. He's trying to get my attention, right? I'm like, what is this guy doing? So, I pull out of the Chipotle, and it's my cousin Jake and his girlfriend Braylyn, and my cousin Jake is very religious, and he's probably going to watch this whole episode because he's going to see you and be like, I'm about it.
Right on, Jake. Right on.
Yeah, so he's super. He sends me a Bible verse a day.
Okay.
He'll just send me one because he's reading up on it.
Okay.
And we were talking about, because I came back. I should have went and gave that guy money for trying to get my attention, but he was already gone. Went and talked to him about it. And he was, he's very big in his faith, right? And he was telling me, like, Mikey, I remember when you were younger. So when I used to live out in the county with my mom when I was young, like 10, 11 years old, my auntie Kimmy lived across the street. That's my cousin Jake, cousin Jolie, and stuff like that. There was a time when I was little and I was at home by myself. right? And I had like headphones on. I'm playing the game or doing something, right? I'm not supposed to be doing probably. And all the cabinets were open when I went back in the room, right? So my Auntie Kimmy is very religious, very, very religious. She came, saged the house, blessed it, prayed and everything like that. But he was telling me, yeah, I told my mom how you believe in God now, and I guess she started crying.
Wow.
You know, she's very heavy on that.
Yeah.
But my cousin Jake was joking with me saying, yeah, bro, I'm glad you turned to God, because it always seemed like you had something following you, or some, you know, like bad spirits, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that was interesting too, because, you know, maybe the time when we were living together, you know, I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, you were still trying to figure out and find yourself. But if we had God, we'd probably have been doing a lot better, right?
Oh, for sure. No,
So.
and I know I'm grateful that you came to the Lord too, because I remember just seeing you, and you actually pulled me out of my pit. You know, you showed me how to socialize. I remember you'd go up and talk to anybody.
Yeah,
you'd go up
like
and talk to anybody.
Well, how do you do that, Michael? How do you
Yeah.
just talk to people? I remember at the shooting range with me, you, and Demetrio. I won't tell the story. We don't got to bring that up all the way. But I remember just like, man, I wish I had social skills like you. I'm like, dude, you'll get it, man. You just got to talk to people.
Yeah.
And now look at you.
Yeah.
We'd be walking down the street right now. Probably you could start preaching. And,
Yeah.
hey, yo, come here. I got a message for you, man. You know,
Yeah.
so I'm glad you were able to look at me like,
Yeah,
this guy could talk to anybody.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So that's a good thing. I have that skill, you know, to be able to
Yeah.
talk to people. You know.
It just took a minute, you know, to get the scales off, but you know, I definitely see that you had that gift to love people, right? And I know that God's been working on you already before you even knew it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's cool to see, you know, that you're getting the verses, that you're getting to know Christ for who He is, right? And also doing this, you know, opening up your platform like this. You know, God's gonna bless it, right?
So you know, try to get out there and, you know, get people, because you know, your pastor might see this episode and then your pastor won't be on it, right? Or you know, like I do Sean, maybe a Chiefs owner wants to hop on it, or reps or something like that. So it's just something for fun, just something to do. I'm not really looking for money or anything like that doing this. Just sit down, have a conversation, and you know, talk.
Right.
You know, something to do.
No, for sure. I see it like just a good way to get the community together, you know?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, they don't know there's outlets, right? They don't know there's Eagle Ridge Fitness. They don't know that there's a Victory Outreach Church, right?
Pastor Dante.
Yeah. Come on. Huh? And they see your platform here, and they say, you know, there is a place for me, right? So I think it's great what you're doing. You know, just keep doing it. Yeah. Keep sharing the love. Right?
Yeah, I was like, unless I go to the Army, you know, I'm going to be doing it in the barracks.
Oh, yeah.
Sean was joking about that. I'm going to be down with my AR talking on a podcast.
Yeah.
You know? So I seen a couple weeks ago you took a couple kids to shooting range, right? Pueblo Zoo. Some pistol. That's where we started, man. That's when we started going there in Magnum Shooting Center. So are you still involved with your, you know, with shooting and keeping up with that? You know, you're right, man. It's not unlike Canada.
Yeah.
Unlike Canada, I know okay, we don't got to get into that, but
this is that type of show. We get political.
Just start getting political. I was talking to my barber actually, and he's like, just ask political questions. Screw the podcast, you know. And so when I have him, I'll be asking him. No, but I seen you took him shooting. You know, that's really cool. You know, and I know how safe you are, and like especially now after learning. I think it's my fault you probably got into guns.
Oh, definitely, bro. Definitely.
I had something to do with that influence-wise, but
so I'm very big into guns still. You know,
that's good.
I have 4 guns now of my own, and I remember before actually this last year started, I got in debt. Yeah. Just buying guns, ammo, stocks, all the things you taught me to invest in. You know, I was doing it.
Yeah.
Filling
just
voids.
Just too much of it.
Yeah,
you know?
just too much of it. So
I think the crypto was what was crazy. You're like my brother. My brother Anthony is like that too. Is very crypto focused compared to stock focused, right?
Yeah.
So, because I remember the time, it was just like, but you've always, you know, you got a house, you do good for yourself. It's not like, and I think with like the whole debt thing, like being in debt, because, you know, I'm in a little bit of debt, but it's interest-free debt, right?
For sure.
Where else can you do this other than America? So, you know, you got to be grateful for what you have and how you're able to do it, you know? So.
No, absolutely. I think, I thought it was a good idea, you know, on teaching these young men how to grow up spiritually, but I also think in the physical, it's good for them to be aware situationally, you know, any situation comes up, you never know what happens.
There's a lot of evil people out here.
Yeah.
The only thing that's going to stop evil people is good people, though.
Yeah,
So-
that's right.
But I wanted to ask you about that because I know a lot of people, when they do turn to God, they get rid of everything, all their guns, everything, and I'm glad you didn't, right? Because it's good to know that you're able to defend yourself and be able to have that right to do it. But I thought it was super cool that you went and took them to go do that,
Yeah.
But I was looking at the target, man.
It's been a minute.
I think we need to start going once a week or something like that, because I saw that target, I went, he's missing.
Yeah.
That's okay, though. That's okay.
No, I definitely need to get back into it.
Yeah.
I'd actually bought a new barrel because I got a squib in the last one, so I was smacking out
it got stuck? Or
yeah, it got stuck.
You got to be careful with those. Those
Yeah.
will blow up on you sometimes.
So I'm learning how to adjust with the new barrel on the sight,
Are you still P320, the SIG? 365? Was it 320?
365 XL.
365. Yeah, you know me, man. I'm a Glock guy.
Yeah.
We would always debate about that.
Yeah.
Michael, just get a SIG. No, dude. Glock is where it's at.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think you even told me to get the SIG, but
Well, I think you were testing them out and filling them. I'm like, bro,
yeah.
because if you exclude Glock, I think SIG's probably your next best bet. But
for sure.
I'm a Glock fanboy, bro. If Glock didn't exist, I'll get a SIG. But you know me, man. I'll rep Glock till the day I die.
Yeah.
Just like how you like AKs and I like ARs,
Oh yeah.
But so you're back in Pueblo now. How long have you been back for? A couple months?
Yeah, I got back late December.
Late December.
So I've been back 3 months.
How's it being an uncle?
Oh, it's great.
Cool
I love
thing
every
or
minute
what?
of it. Yeah.
Are you gonna be like the uncle that spoils the?
Oh,
your
for
nephew?
sure. I'm already telling him hey, let me take him out. Let me
Yeah.
buy him stuff. I'm like,
So when he's older, he's gonna have a good support. Good family too. Brothers, everybody's doing good.
Oh yeah, they're doing great.
Is
they're all working.
is Beat living down here now too, or is
Not
he
yet. He's
no,
still,
still in
in
Springs?
high school. Yeah.
still in spring? Well, yeah, I know he was senior now.
Yeah, senior year.
Damn, bro. Me and him when he was like a freshman.
Yeah.
So he's a senior too now.
Mhm.
So everybody's still living in Springs for the most part.
Yeah. My
Are you
parents.
you're living at the church?
I actually, I came back. My pastor had bought a house, and he's like, "Hey, this is my goal with the house." So that's why we've been having a lot of young.
Oh
men
yeah,
there.
yeah. That
Yeah.
hang. I was wondering. I was like, no way that house is fitting 15, 20 people. Like
No.
the OG house,
Yeah.
I was like, there's not enough. There was like 10 of us, and it was too much, So you're living at that house now. Are you working out at any gyms right now?
Yeah, I go to the Y. So
The Y. Okay, yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
I can't go. What's your workout routine looking like right now?
Oh man. So when
Is
I
it
do
like-
go,
When I do go, is it like, 3 days
Yeah.
a week? What is it like?
so I'm busy throughout the week.
Yeah,
So
no, that's fair.
I try to do 3 days, 3
Uh-huh.
full body, and I'll
Okay.
just go hard, bro. Like hit my whole body and
Just think
get
about
it
all
in.
the negative thoughts.
Yeah,
You're just
yeah.
like,
yeah.
Oh, that's good. You're still
People-
going though,
Mm-hmm.
There's no need to be as dedicated as we were back
Yeah.
then. Especially you, dude. I remember meal prep, protein shakes, just all the time.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
oh man, Dante,
Oh,
you want to go
yeah.
get Taco Bell? Nah, bro, I can't do that. I got ground beef in the fridge. I'm like, what?
I was very committed.
You were, so it shows your type of dedication to it. So,
for sure.
gym 3 times a week. You're working, or you're living with your pastor in the house.
Mhm.
And then you're going to school, man, dude. So much going on. How did you
Yeah.
find time to come here?
Oh man. Well, I just thought,
Sunday,
I appreciated what you're doing.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah,
so I
you
was
were saying you were all, hey, bro, love the podcast. You gotta keep doing it. Did you
Yeah.
expect me to ask you?
No, I
Like, yo,
didn't.
Dante, actually,
No, I
this Sunday,
didn't.
you want to be on it?
No, I was just thinking about it all week. I was like, man, God, you take control because I don't know what I'm gonna say. Right? Mike knew me at my worst.
well,
What's gonna come
look,
up?
look how far you've come now.
Yeah.
So
No, I appreciate really what God's been doing.
Yeah.
Throughout this city.
yeah.
Our founder recently just died of Victory Outreach,
Okay.
and it's crazy. He started as a drug addict. He was out there.
Sorry about the loss. Did you
Oh.
meet him?
Yeah,
before?
I met him a couple
Okay.
times. I met him in Mexico. I met him in California.
So he's still moving around. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's still going everywhere.
Yeah, but he was 85 years old. He had a vision to reach the lost and hurting, right? So the big thing our Victory Outreach is known for is the homes.
yeah.
So if you know anybody that's struggling with addiction, going, in and out, and they need a place to go, we have a Victory Outreach Recovery Home. here in Pueblo, all over the world.
Yeah. You want to say where it is in Pueblo? You could say, because most of the people watching this are from Pueblo, you know, so
okay.
You could say the address or where they could go. Is it just your Instagram again too, or
you could reach me on my Instagram. There's also Eric Castro. He's the home director. He goes and he's got a good group of men now. He's raising up leaders. Their families come and they see a difference in their lives, so there's always a place for you,
if you're struggling, reach out for sure. But yeah, man, I think we could wrap it up. That was a good 45 55 minutes. For sure have to get you on for another episode. Maybe it would be one of those things where it gets big or it blows up or something happens. And you're on episode 25. We could sit there, have a desk, table, maybe
that'd be
chill
awesome.
out, play some games or something like that.
That'd be cool.
But so I usually ask at the end of every podcast, you plugged in the Instagram and stuff like that. Is there a message you would want to leave anybody for this podcast at all?
Yeah, I would just say first, there's many influences around us, right? I would say the main influence is Christ, the one that created you. He wants to know you. He's created you to know you. But besides that, I would say your influence is only as great as the circle you surround yourself with, right?
Thanks.
So if you're around leaders, if you're around men that are, sleeping in, doing drugs, doing this, doing that, that's probably says a lot about you and your character. So I would say surround yourself with people that are winning, that are succeeding, that are wanting to go an extra mile, right? And, like I said, there's always an open door at Victory Outreach Pueblo. There's always a place for you to get connected. That's all I have for today. God bless.
Hell yeah, man. Dante, thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it. I'm sure we'll have you on again. Yeah. It's not a last time, but hell yeah, man.
Bro.
It was good seeing you.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, bro.